Hi, welcome to The Pursuit of Truth. It's the 23rd of July 2018. I was just catching up on Sheeps and Heaps Live on YouTube, and he was talking about H2O not being a real combination of water, which is very interesting actually. You know, we think of the two light gases making water, and the fact that when they go through the processes of change them into the chemicals, they weigh different amounts, which doesn't seem to make sense. But the main thing I'm talking about here is this idea of lies in plain sight, which seems to be a recurrent theme on this pursuit of truth. And it's a little bit worrying because it's making me think that there's lots of things that we take for granted that may not actually be true and have done out of ease or out of ignorance or I don't know why the reason is. Because if we find out that water isn't actually made up of H2O and is actually its own element, then why have we been told these lies? Is it just mistakes? Because we know science, you know, it keeps correcting itself as it learns something new. Sometimes, like anything, especially when it's established, to change it is a very difficult thing and people resist it. You know, when people come up with new ideas, they're often poo-pooed, and even especially like when you want to change the world and democracy and politics and stuff like that. Look at how long it took for the idea of slavery. Well, it still hasn't really finished, but the idea of it to be abolished, people were against it. Despite using common sense, you should realise that we're all human. But this is what I mean. So maybe this is the reason why people are resistant to this idea of investigating is water H2O or not, because to change it and say no it's not and we've got it wrong all these times, especially in this day and age, people just wouldn't accept that kind of thing. And then I was thinking about previously I've been talking about the idea of statistics and how false they are. The fact of when they talk about Muslims and Christians, how many there are, no one's ever asked me. No one's ever asked you, I'm sure, how do they calculate these figures? A lot of them are just guesstimates, but they're put out as fact. The same as about how many people are on the planet, 7 billion. Is there 7 billion? What about all these wars? What about all these famines? How come populations are still rising? Yeah, I know people are having children, but these days they're always talking about, people are leaving it late and then they're becoming infertile. Why is it the population is growing? Despite all these wars, despite all these famines, it never seems to decrease. Is it a convenience for people to have the population growing because then they can say, oh, we don't have enough of this, that and the other because the population is growing, and But who knows how they even get these figures and who even gets these figures, because we just take it for granted, isn't it? Because someone tells us there's 7 billion people and we just believe it. And then I was thinking the other day of, when we say how old we are. How old are you? Well, I was born on this day. What do you mean? You were born on this day. So you count your age from when you were born, when you came into this world. But you were already alive before then. Isn't age how old you actually are? I say I'm 43, but I'm not 43, am I? Because I spent 9 months inside my mum, give or take. So I'm actually 43 plus 9 months. Well, wait a minute, also you could say, what about the sperm and the egg? They were old as well, and I came from them. They were the product that made me. I don't know, the egg was probably 2 weeks before it could become fertilised. So from that 2 weeks when it started, you've got to add that on as well. And I assume the sperm, I don't know how long that lasts for. Maybe that lasts, I think it only lasts like a few days, isn't it? Or 7 days, 4 days, it depends. I mean, I know the reason why they don't calculate the actual how old we are, because it's difficult to calculate these things because we don't know when we were conceived, unless it's IVF. We don't know the conception date. We don't know how old the sperm and the egg were before. Some of those things, when it's IVF, you do have a sort of, you will know a sort of certain amount, and you would be able to get an actual age of an actual person. But it's one of those lies in plain sight. We do it. Why do we do it? Because it's easier. It's easier to say, well, when you're born, that's easy. I can start counting from then. But it's not actually how old you are. But we all accept these kinds of lies. They are lies. My age isn't 43. But then I suppose you could say, well, age is just based on when you were born. But no. It's how old I am. I was already growing inside my mum. I was alive. Anyway, it's just one of those things that it just shows you how many other things are there out there that we're just taking for granted, that are just done for ease rather than truth. Just one to think about anyway. Take care, take it easy, God bless and peace.